Hello and welcome to my review of New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom 14, which took place over the last two nights in the Tokyo Dome, as it always does, as Wrestle Kingdom always does. First two-night one that I've been aware of anyway, unless one of the older ones was. And wow, a hell of a lot to get through. So I'll be skipping through quite a bit of stuff. I'll cover every single match, but I might not have any massively in-detail thoughts on some of the lower card multi-man tag matches, because I just don't know that enough about the people involved and don't have that much to say at this point. I'll be covering the main events on each night in a little bit more detail, my thoughts and what have you. So, the first night kicked off with a Stardom tag match that wasn't televised, which I don't know. It was advertised, so I don't know why you do it as a dark match when you can easily just have the cameras roll. For New Japan World. So I predicted on that one. I honestly don't remember who I predicted to win. Oh, you know what? I predicted Julia and Hana Kimura to win, and they lost. So going against my predictions, despite it not even being shown, I'm already 0-1. But I have nothing to say about that because I didn't see it. A little disappointed, actually, because it felt like a big step for New Japan to have a women's match. And they didn't bother showing it, so maybe not such a big step. Up next, we had basically a Young Lions match. There was a couple of more established guys in there that I wasn't that familiar with. I was surprised, Team LA Dojo, I would call them, the one with 3 US LA Dojo Young Lions, defeated the team with 2 Young Lions from Japan and 2 more established stars. And both of those factors, the fact that this team had the homegrown Young Lions, not the US ones, and the fact that they had 2 established stars instead of just 1 more established star, made me think that the Japanese team were going to win, but they didn't, so I'm 0-2. Toa Henare, I believe he is, beat one of the Young Lions on the losing team. He was quite a big fella, but I can't remember which one he was, Yota Tsuji or Yuya Uemura. Again, I'm just not familiar enough with New Japan to know who these people are. These Young Lion people, I've got no idea, but I believe that was who picked up the result. Next up was the second and final pre-show match, which was what the commentators referred to as a dad's match, and I thought that was really cool. Basically, this WWE is how you use your older stars that can still go. They put on a bit of an exhibition. You either use them to put over an up-and-coming talent, or you use them to put on a bit of an exhibition for a bit of fun for the crowd, and that's exactly what this was. I don't personally know these guys. I think I've heard of Yuji Nagata, and I've heard of Tenzan and Satoshi Kojima, but not to the point where I know anything about them particularly. And I honestly can't remember who I picked to win this. So I'm just going to say I'm still 0-2 because I just don't know who I picked to win this. But Tenzan and Kojima won. The first match, by the way, it was an okay match. It was the 8-man tag with the Young Lions. So it was what it was. It was an okay, fairly fun 8-man tag match. I don't really have anything else to contribute to that. This match was fun. You could tell it was just some veterans, like they say, the dads, the older guys, just that, putting on a good exhibition, having fun out there without turning it into like a comedy spectacle. It was just a fun match. It wasn't a funny match. It was just fun, and yeah, it was good. Next, we had the first of 2 retirement matches for Jushin Thunder Liger, and this kicked off the main show. And I actually picked Liger's team to win just because it was Liger, Tatsumi Fujinami, the Great Sasuke, and Tiger Mask. And despite the fact that you usually go out on your back, this wasn't his last match. And I thought, that team can't lose, surely. But they did. Sano, Otani, Takaiwa, and Taguchi picked up the win. Again, not overly familiar with all of those, if I'm being perfectly honest, but they picked up the win, and it was a good fun match, but this is the difference between like Western wrestling and Japanese wrestling. I think for me, in a nutshell, is someone of Liger's caliber in America would not retire with an 8-man tag and a tag team match. They're likely to have a big one-on-one match with the retirement stipulation, and it's going to end up fairly personal. And like, look, think Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair. That's how I think of a retirement match. Or Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, from a couple of years later. And I know both went on to break their retirement, and yada yada yada. We can debate how much retirement actually means in wrestling till the cows come on, but a retirement match seems like a different deal than just, oh, we'll do an 8-man tag with some guys that he's got history with, which I get. And I really appreciate, the commentators are explaining what history he had with each people as rivals and as partners and as friends and as foes, and I really appreciated all that backstory to it, but it just didn't feel special. It didn't feel like a retirement match to me. It felt like an opening match on a show that didn't have much other reason. If I'd have been watching with Japanese commentary, I wouldn't have had any idea this was a special match. I'd have just thought, oh, it's some old dudes having a 8-man tag to start the match. Which obviously I knew a lot of the old dudes, but still, if I went into this completely blind and had Japanese commentary, so I didn't have anyone explaining it to me as we went, I wouldn't have understood that this was special. Which I suppose you could argue even for a singles match. If I had the Japanese commentary, I wouldn't understand it was special, but I don't know. It opened the show. Jushin Thunder Liger's last match opened the show, and second to last match. I don't know. There's just something in that difference in booking that doesn't quite sit with me, because it's just, and I'm not saying it's wrong by any stretch, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying I don't relate to it because it's so different to what I'm used to. So I'm not criticising it as such. I'm just explaining why I didn't personally get fully behind it, if that makes any sense. Liger took the fall, which, if Liger's team was going to lose, I suppose that makes the most sense for him to take the fall. Like you say, you go out on your back. That's the old school way. I just didn't think this team of, like, they must be megastars for me to have heard of them, because I'm not big into Japanese wrestling. This team of megastars to, like, lose seemed odd to me, but one thing I will say is I noticed Liger's the one here that was retiring. The others weren't in their final match, but my God, he was so much more fluid and fast moving than everyone else in there. Like, those other guys should be retiring as well. No disrespect to the history and the legacy, but wow, if Liger's retiring, they could all afford to. Let's just say, like, and I'm not saying any of them were bad by any stretch of the imagination, but Liger was the only. I know he had the mask and what have you, so it wasn't immediately obvious. But so did Tiger Mask and so did Sasuke. He seemed like the youngest man in there by a long way. Like, and I'm not talking looks, because, like I say, obviously he was covered head to toe, and especially head. I mean, performance-wise, he just seemed so much younger than everyone else. So yeah, that was my thoughts on that. Up next, we had another 8-man tag, and this, I struggled to get into this show at the start, and I know how they do it. They do like a slow build up, but I'm used to WWE and AEW and NXT starting off with a hot one. Starting off with a really big match to capture you. Then it kind of, it'll peak and trough throughout the show, and then they'll have a big main event. New Japan very much start with some essentially meaningless matches. Like, yes, there's story in them, and yes, there's people within the 8-man tags that are having rivalries with each other and what have you. But when I say essentially meaningless, it's not a title match, it's not a super personal one-on-one grudge match, it's just 8-man tags, like 3 8-man tags back to back to start the show. And that's not counting the fact that we had an 8-man tag and a tag match before on the pre-show. So it was a lot of tag action that didn't feel very personal or feud related in my traditional Western sense. And again, this is all on me not understanding the Japanese way fully yet, and not understanding the stories going into this particularly well. But yeah, it was another 8-man tag, and like I say, I just struggled to get into the early part of this card just because it was just all sort of blended together. It was just a hell of a lot of people being chucked out there just to get them involved, I guess. Like, that's what it felt like, even though it probably wasn't. So, anyway, we had Suzuki Gun, which were represented by Zack Sabre Jr., Minoru Suzuki, Taichi, and El Desperado. I don't think I'd heard of El Desperado before, and I didn't know a lot about Taichi, but I'd heard of him, and then I know Zack Sabre Jr. and Suzuki, so there's a bit of interest in this match because I actually knew some of the guys, and then they defeated Los Ingobernables de Japón. I think I said that right, but you know who I mean anyway, which were represented by Sanada, Evil, Shingo Tagaki, and Bushi, which you can probably tell by the way I said his name. I wasn't familiar with Tagaki. I might have heard the name, but I wasn't familiar. I was a lot more familiar with the other three in this. I enjoyed Sanada's match with Okada last year, so I remember him from that. Zack Sabre Jr. picked up the win over Bushi. What were the stories in this match? Oh, Zack Sabre Jr. and Sanada have a rivalry coming in, and they faced off on night 2, didn't they? Yeah, for the British Heavyweight Championship, the Rev Pro Wrestling one. So that was like one of the main things coming in, and I guess that was the main sort of motivation catalyst behind this. The next night, did any more of these guys clash? Let me have a look. I'm just looking through that. They were in the pre-show match, the gauntlet, weren't they? Let's have a look. I don't think they could. No. The Suzuki-gun guys were out before the Los Ingobernables were in that match, so that didn't really carry over into night 2, except for, like I say, Zack Sabre and Sanada. But yeah, this was I wrote down that this was a wild brawl with a good story behind it at the same time. This was a lot more wild than the veterans, the Liger retirement match, which you'd expect. That was a much more respectful affair, I guess. Those guys were a bit past taking everything personally, and having some wild brawl that was fueled by anger and hatred. It was a retirement match, amongst friends and old rivals that had become friends. But this one felt a lot more wild and what have you. It wasn't a bad match by any stretch. Again, I'm just not massive into all these multi-man tag matches, which I get is a big part of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I'm sure over time, getting used to this, I will get used to it. And by the way, if anyone can recommend to me specifically multi-man tag matches, so like 8-man tags, 6-man tags, that sort of thing, that are really good, that I can watch on New Japan World, and would get me into that mentality, especially if they've got English commentary. That'd be even better, because then at least I've got people explaining to me what I'm watching and why. I'd appreciate any suggestions in the comments, because I want to learn. I want to learn why they do things the way they do, and how to sort of better enjoy it. So yeah, let me know in the comments. Anyway, next we had another 8-man tag, and there was a bit of story going into this one as well. Again, they seem to do this where they have these 8-man tags where at least one person on each side have like a big issue with each other, and the other, because Japan's so kind of stable heavy, they sort of have the mates backing them up, so it just prolongs the feud instead of just having the one-on-one match. It's sort of like the WWE equivalent is when you're building up to a pay-per-view, and you have, this is going to be a bad example because it had never actually happened, but just bear with me. If you had Roman Reigns going against Brock Lesnar, and you had Seth Rollins going against Kevin Owens, well, on Raw beforehand, you'd have Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins against Brock Lesnar and Kevin Owens in a tag match, and that's just like a way of building to it without giving them the one-on-one match that they're going to end up paying for at the pay-per-view, but it still gives them a taster. This is, I guess that's how they use it. I'm just not used to it always containing so many people. Like, there's 8, 16, 24, 32, 36 people in the opening 5 matches. Like, that's crazy, unless one's a battle royal, that's crazy. Like, so yeah. Anyway, so the next match was Chaos, which was Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, who I love. He gets called a pitbull, doesn't it? He just looks like the world's angriest, like, guinea pig or chipmunk or something like that. It just looks like a lethal, like, gopher. Toru Yano, who's just great entertainment value without... He's comedic without seeming useless, seeming like he can't hold his own at least a little bit. And Yoshihashi, they defeated Bullet Club, who were represented by Kenta, Bad Luck Fale, Takahashi, and Chase Owens. Takahashi is the one I'm least familiar with. I know him as the pimp guy who has that girl with him who wow, New Japan Wrestling's approach to women's wrestling is slightly behind the Western times, but it's a cultural difference, I guess. They cut off the Joshi match off the show. They didn't even pre-show it, and they have her out here just like that, which far be it for me to complain about her being dressed like that. And if she's perfectly happy doing that, then power to her. Like, but just the different mentality is pretty crazy. But yeah, the big issue in this was Goto and Kenta, who would be fighting on night 2 for the the Never Openweight Championship. But I believe, let me have a look again through the big Ishii. Yeah, so Ishii and, was it Yoshihashi? Yeah, Yoshihashi. And then not Yano, it was actually Robbie Eagles from Chaos. Were up against Chase Owens, Bad Luck Fale, and Takahashi. So 5 out of the 6 other people were in the gauntlet match, and they started it off. So that kind of carried over. That's what I mean by there was no spillover in the last one, was they didn't meet in the gauntlet match for the Never Openweight 6-man titles. Which is pretty fun, actually, when you think about it. This is an 8-man tag match, and the next night, 7 of the 8 men were involved in Never Openweight title matches. But yeah, so I'm just trying to remember who picked up the win. Goto pinned the pimp guy, what's his name? Takahashi. So they gave Goto the win and the momentum into the title match without having him beat Kenta just yet, which I guess, again, going back to the analogy of what they do on Raw, in that analogy I gave before where it was Reigns against Lesnar and Rollins against Owens, you would get like Lesnar pinning Rollins to finish that match. Like 9 times out of 10 they'll pin across rivalries, they won't pin their rival. Sometimes they will to build intrigue, especially if it's building into like a title match. They'll have Reigns pin Lesnar in that tag match, so you believe that he can take the title off Lesnar, he can pin him. But more often than not, I'd say they pin across rivalries in those matches, again, to keep the intrigue going, to not give you the... And it's worth noting in the last one as well, the Zack Sabre Jr. one, he pinned Bushi, he didn't pin his rival Sanada, he pinned Sanada's friend, if you like, so they keep them apart. They don't have one of them go over the other just yet. So yeah, let me see what did I write. What the hell does this say? It was good. What does this say? Good something. Work by Bullet Club. Don't know. I was crediting Bullet Club. Good teamwork, maybe? I don't know. I cannot read that word, and I wrote it. I commented Yano was funny. He wanted to start the match, and he was super keen to start the match, and then he turned around, and Bad Luck Fale was there, and just his... He still fought him. He didn't run away, but it was just the look on his face at the start. It just tickled me, that. Oh, and I noticed that Kenta kind of watched the pin happen. So I don't mean he watched it as in he let it happen, but he was the guy who almost broke up the pin, which was a nice touch in this one, in that Goto was pinning someone and Kenta just couldn't quite stop him. So it was like, ooh, there's that little bit of a... Because they were the big 2 rivals going into a singles match on night 2. I liked that they had that little mini interaction. Well, so much for going quick, guys. I'm gonna try and get through all this. Finn Juice Robinson and David Finlay shocked me a little bit. Oh, by the way, predictions. Who did I predict? Right, I'm 0 from 3 after the Liger match. The Suzuki Gun against Los Ingobernables. I can't remember who I picked. Really can't, so we'll say I'm 0 and 3. I know I picked Bullet Club in this one, so I'm 0 and 4. And then in the next one, we had Finn Juice against the Gorillas of Destiny. I definitely picked the Gorillas of Destiny to win this one because I knew that Juice Robinson was going on to the US title match on night 2, so I didn't think they'd send him in with a title because I think that made it predictable that he was going to lose, because the whole build to night 2 was on the double championship thing. So they weren't going to have someone in the mid-card get a double championship before it and take all the steam out of that. So I feel like them winning here was a bad move. I don't know, I'll see how it plays out and stuff, but right at this moment I feel like it's a bad move. And I just want to say, by the way, if I'm wrong about the fallout of any of this stuff that happens at New Year's Dash, it's because I'm recording this before New Year's Dash has happened. It's still 2 hours before New Year's Dash starts that I'm recording this up nice and early. So if there's anything where you're watching this and you're like, actually that was addressed in New Year's Dash, that's why. But yeah, I feel like the wrong decision was made here just because of that, giving away the result of the second match on night 2. But yeah, they won the tag titles. Obviously they have something more important in mind than just a bit of a unpredictable finish to a match on night 2. Clearly they have something in mind, but personally I would have still had Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa retain. Yeah, and they sent me 0 and 4 at the very least. I really don't know what a couple of my predictions were, but we'll just go with that. It was a really good match, but I really didn't expect Finjuice to win it. But I feel like it's one of New Japan's long-term storylines potentially, because apparently Gorillas of Destiny are now 0 and 4 at Wrestle Kingdom, so they might be building up to like a big win, after a bit of a losing streak, and it's 7 years in a row apparently that the heavyweight tag titles have swapped hands. So again, maybe a bit of a long-term story there. Maybe at some point Gorillas of Destiny retain the titles and break both streaks or something like that. I don't know. I did think the kendo stick from Jado on the outside, it hit someone. I think it was David Finlay. I think he hit with a kendo stick, and then I think it was Tama Tonga rolled him up. And I genuinely thought, oh, that'll be it, because they can continue this, with an unclean finish. But no, he kicked out, and then Finlay ended up pinning Tama Tonga. So that was that. So I was, what did I say? Am I 0 and 4, 0 and 5? I got the Young Lions one wrong. I got the Liger one wrong. I got the Bullet Club wrong. 0 and 4. Fantastic. Up next was John Moxley against Lance Archer, and we're into the final 4 matches. So this is what I mean, was like, until the tag title match, and we're almost halfway through the card, it was all just sort of like 8-man tag, 8-man tag, 8-man tag, 8-man tag, and it's on me, again, I can't emphasise this enough so you don't think I'm criticising the product, but in my very Western wrestling cultured mind, if you like, where that's what I'm used to, it felt the throwaway. The first 3 out of 8 matches felt really throwaway, in my opinion. But we're starting to get into the good stuff now. The second half of the card was just phenomenal. So first, on that second half, we had John Moxley and Lance Archer in a Texas Death Match with a bit of a twist. You could win by submission as well. That didn't actually factor into the finish. This was a really good, wild brawl. It was a bit botchy at times, but in this kind of match, sometimes that works because it makes it seem a bit more like a real fight, rather than a choreographed dance routine, so I like that. There's some cool spots. Lance Archer threw one of the Young Lions at ringside at John Moxley at one point. I think he picked him up on the apron and body slammed him onto Moxley, who was on the floor or something. That was pretty cool. And the finish was really good. Moxley taking Archer off the apron with the, what's it called? The Death Rider, is it called in New Japan? The Dirty Deeds, the double unduck DDT, but it's a bit more lifty in New Japan and AEW the way he does it. But it's called the Paradigm Shift in AEW, isn't it? But he, so he puts him through himself and Lance Archer through 2 tables at ringside, and then just about gets up before the 9 and into the ring. And then Lance Archer obviously takes the loss. And then Moxley won the title, which this is my first correct prediction, and I started off on my prediction video by saying Lance Archer was going to win this, and then I talked myself into Moxley winning it because of it making sense of them going back to the Moxley Juice match that didn't happen because of Moxley's flight being interrupted by do you know what they mentioned on the show? And I already can't remember what it was, but it was some sort of natural issue, like natural disaster kind of weather issue, and Moxley couldn't get there, so that he couldn't do his match with Juice, which is why Lance Archer won the. So yeah, I talked myself around and I got one right. I got Moxley right. So yay. Up next we had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship match, and this was just crazy good. Like that's the words I wrote. Crazy good match. Yeah. I predicted Takahashi to win because I see big things going forward for Will Ospreay in 2020, and I think he needs to move away from the junior heavyweight division. The commentators were even alluding to the fact that he's basically beat everyone else at this point. Takahashi was the last obstacle. Well, what's the point of having him go over the last obstacle? Because what do you do next? You know, like that's the question. If you beat the last obstacle, what do you do next? Like that, you know, so it made sense for him to lose and maybe move fully into the heavyweight division now. Also, when they started talking about Takahashi warning that he had a new move and he was ready to use it, that pretty much confirmed to me that my prediction was right. No one debuts a new move and then a new finishing move and then the opponent kicks out of it. Like, you've got to establish the move before people can start kicking out of it. So, yeah, I was like, oh, okay, I'm pretty confident on that. It was a crazy spot. Crazy spot. Will Ospreay is just ludicrously good. And he did, like, a cartwheel into a backflip over the top rope onto the outside. But Takahashi stepped out the way, so Ospreay landed on his feet, and then Takahashi grabbed him because he landed with his back to Takahashi. Went for a German suplex, and Ospreay backflipped out of that. Then he ran down the ramp, and then Takahashi tried to belly him into like the ring apron, but Ospreay dived through between the middle and bottom rope back into the ring, hit the ropes, and then did his cartwheel into a backflip over the top rope again and hit it. And it was just, it sounds so convoluted, but it was so fluid that it just looked amazing and they ddid it quicker than I just explained it. You know, like literally they got all of that done before I could tell you what they were doing. It was crazy. It was an insane spot. It was a lot of fun, and it wasn't just like a spot match. I mean, there was a lot of high spots. It's junior heavyweight, it's cruiserweight style as it's known in the West. So there obviously there has to be a lot of flipping and spotting and stuff like that. But there was also like a good story running through the match, and I just really appreciated this match. And it's crazy how much there was kind of like a halfway line for me, and I don't know if it was halfway time-wise, it probably wasn't. The later matches were probably a lot longer. Yeah, when you look at the first half of the match, they were like 8:52, 8:39, 8:17, and 13:25, and then the second half, it's 14:26, 24:33, and then the two main events were over half an hour each, nearly 40 minutes in the actual main event. So it wasn't halfway through the actual show time-wise, but in terms of number of matches, there was a real halfway cut-off point in the quality for me, you know, and it was when they got into the singles matches. That's where wrestling is at its best, in my opinion. Tag team wrestling can be a lot of fun, and quite often in WWE, NXT, and AEW, a tag match will steal the show. But I feel like fundamentally, the reason people tune into pro wrestling is to watch two people fight each other one-on-one. That's fundamentally the reason why people want to watch wrestling, and I think that crosses all boundaries. I think people are more interested in the main events in Japan. You know, they might like the multi-man matches opening the show, but they're there for the main events, the singles matches, you know, let's be honest. Otherwise, they never open weight 6-man title main event the show, and it doesn't. You know, that's just simple as. So yeah, but the quality just stepped up. The intrigue, personally, for me as well, just stepped up massively from the Moxley match onwards. Okay, yeah, it was a crazy good match. Like I say, Takahashi won with his new finisher. It was like a tombstone setup with Ospreay awkwardly having like one leg up in the end, so he was sort of like at a 45-degree angle almost, and then I go and watch it. I don't even know how to explain it. It looked really good though. It did. It looked really good. And yeah, as soon as he hit that, I was like, yeah, that'll be the move. He's not kicking out of that. So yeah, a really good match. Anyway, the semi-main event. So the story of the two nights was that they're going to unify, well, not unify, but they're going to have a double champion who has the IWGP Heavyweight and the IWGP Intercontinental Heavyweight Championships by the end of Night 2. So first they had to establish who was going to hold each title going into Night 2, and the Intercontinental Championship was being contested between the champion Jay White and the challenger Tetsuya Naito, and I'm pretty sure I predicted Naito to win this. Yeah, I'm fairly sure I did, and I was right. I did pretty well once we got into the serious stuff, the singles matches. I think I was 4-4 in the singles matches, predictions wise. So I think overall now, I think I'm 2-4, 3-4 including the Naito match. I got Moxley, Takahashi, and Naito right. This was my favourite match so far. It was a slower paced affair than the Takahashi Ospreay match, a less spectacular match, but it was really good in terms of the storytelling and the psychology and the build, and it was genuinely, it was a great match. I really enjoyed it. You had a bit of interference from Gedo, but not enough to like ruin the match, but enough to really get some heat on him and Jay White. And then Naito overcomes and beats him. And yeah, just I don't know what else to say about this. Fully recommend to anyone, whether you're only into Western wrestling or whether you're a big Japan fan, go and watch this show. If you're only into the Western wrestling, keep giving it a chance through the first half. Or if you're really, really intolerant for all that multi-man match, you've tried watching Japanese wrestling before and you can't get into all the multi-man matches, start from the tag team title match. Because then it's just a standard wrestling pay-per-view at that point. Like it could be in America for all we know. Yeah, there's some Japanese guys involved, but the actual style of show they're putting on could be Western, is what I mean. The matches are so much better, but than like your average WWE main roster pay-per-view. But in terms of like the storylines going into it and stuff, it makes sense in a Western sense. So a Western wrestling fan for life, it makes perfect sense. So yeah, Naito overcame Jay White, became the new Intercontinental Champion. And thinking about it, the fact that he was the new Intercontinental Champion and would have had a one-day reign, I think I actually said this about the US title. I didn't know if I saw I was umming and ahhing about predicting Moxley to lose it on night 2 because it'd be a one-day reign, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. And that's how New Japan would feel about that. So it should have given the game away a little bit about Naito winning, but Okada is so overpowered in New Japan that it still didn't. You still just didn't know what was going to happen. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. The main event for night 1 was Okada against Ibushi for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. This would have been my favourite match, and this sounds silly, but it makes such a big difference to me. If Ibushi would have won. Ibushi should have won this when he went completely deadpan and started punching Okada, and it looked brutal. He just knocked him out. He just punched him, which not a single straight punch to the face had been thrown in this entire card, because they actually adhere in New Japan to the rule where close fist punches are illegal. They actually adhere to that still, and he just started punching him and like proper going brutal on him, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like I was really, really invested in this blank faced, no remorse, no emotion whatsoever Kota Ibushi that was just mauling Okada, and he was no selling stuff. Like Okada was hitting him and he wasn't even whipping his head back then looking back at him. He just wasn't whipping his head back, and then Okada like hit the shotgun drop kick, and Ibushi rolled through it and just stood there looking at him for him to turn around, and it was just amazing. I really got into it at that point. Like I was enjoying the match anyway, but at that point I was like edge of my seat, like really enjoying it. And it was amazing, but that should have been like the build to the end of the match. I feel like after he like punched Okada and like really, really taken him down and like stumbled it, like staggered him and basically knocked him out, was how Okada sold that. That was the point where Ibushi then should have picked him up with his grabbed hold of both of his arms and kneed him in the face and pinned him, and Okada could kick out, and then Ibushi could have just grabbed his arms and just kneed him and then picked him up and kneed him and done it like excessively, done it like 5 times or something, and then just pinned him. And that would have been an amazing finish to the match where he just absolutely brutalised Okada. Imagine how made Ibushi would have been. I mean, I get that Okada probably needed to win for Naito's win the next night to mean so much, and they probably didn't want 2 new champions going in and a one-day title reign, and I get all of that. I really do. But just for that match in a vacuum, the match in a vacuum would have been better with that finish, in my opinion. Okada coming back from getting brutalised like he was, I think it's the Western fan in me that hates the Superman character because it's been shoved down our throats so much with Hulk Hogan and John Cena and then Roman Reigns. It turned me off a little bit. Not enough to say it's a bad match or even a bad finish. Nothing about this match was bad. It was amazing start to finish. But I just feel like it would have been my favourite match on the card if Ibushi would have won. If he would have just brutalised Okada at the end. Like after he started punching him, he'd have just like I say, just stuck the knees in until he'd done enough to pin him. Like it would have been great. And I don't even know if that's his finisher as such, but it could have been for this night. You know, like, hit it enough times and it's a finisher. It's a knee to the face. You know, like, need I say more? Anyway, I've spent over half an hour, just on night 1. So, night 2 kicked off with a never open weight 6-man tag team championship gauntlet match. And the first teams in were Los Ingobernables, who were represented by Evil, Bushi, and Shingo Takagi. Wait, what? Oh, no, they weren't. No, I'm reading the results off Wikipedia. I should read my results off my notebook. No, but who were they representing? Okay, we've got Chaos, which are represented by Ishii, Yoshihashi, and Robbie Eagles. That's it. I couldn't read my own writing, then I had to look at Wikipedia. And they defeated the Bullet Club guys that they'd fought in two of them had fought in a 8-man tag on the previous night show, which was Taichi, El Desperado, and no, it wasn't. Why am I mixing my notes up? It was Bad Luck Fale, Takahashi, and Chase Owens. Apologies, guys. Right, it started off with Ishii, Yoshihashi, and Robbie Eagles taking on Chase Owens, Bad Luck Fale, and Takahashi from Bullet Club. Chaos against Bullet Club started it off. Chaos got the win. Ishii pinned Chase Owens. I really like Chase Owens, by the way. Really, like, I enjoyed him a lot, but Ishii pinned him, and I'm not mad about that because I love Ishii. I think he's like one of my favourites in New Japan, just based on his look and just the way he looks like one of the hardest guys on the roster. Like just sells it for me. Anyway, up next came in Taichi, El Desperado, and Kanemaru. I think it was from Suzuki Gun. I'm not that familiar with Kanemaru, but El Desperado massively, but I'd seen El Desperado the night before, and Taichi, who I had heard of before, but I'd also seen the night before in a tag match with Zack Sabre Jr. and Minoru Suzuki. So, yeah, anyway, the Robbie Eagles picked up the win over Kanemaru this time. So, Chaos actually survived 2 rounds of this gauntlet. Before Los Ingobernables came in, and that was the end of them. Evil, Shingo Takagi, and Bushi came in and beat them. I think Evil beat Ishii, which I was annoyed about, but I don't know. I was going to say, but I like Evil. I like Evil, but not as much as I like Ishii. I not 100% sold on Evil. I'm not sold on Evil without Sanada as a partner. Like, even in a 6-man context, it feels like those two should be together. If they're winning, anyway. They can team up and take a loss or a non-title win, fine. But winning titles without each other winning team titles without each other seems a bit weird to me. Sort of like having Road Dogg win a tag title without Billy Gunn. It was like, you know. Yeah, I get it, but anyway, I think I just compared Evil and Sanada to the New Age Outlaws, so people are going to be outraged. Sorry about that. Up next, in came Yano, Taguchi, and Yano, Makabe, and Taguchi, who were the existing champions, and also fell to Evil, Bushi, and whatever the other guy's name was, I've forgotten, Takagi. So they survived 2 rounds as well, if you like, and won the titles. So, yeah, one of the flaws of the gauntlet match is how luck-based it is. It's sort of like the Royal Rumble, except I'd say more people have won the Royal Rumble from 1 and 2 than win a gauntlet match from entering 1 or 2. You know, like, I don't know, the odds just seem more stacked somehow, even though they're not really. They just seem it. So that's a bit of a flaw, but it's a good way of getting a lot of people on the card. And we had new champions, which was Los Ingobernables, which I'm never going to complain about because, well, I just did complain about because it's Evil without Sanada. But you know what I mean? Like, they're probably my favourite faction, just based on Naito. Basically, they're probably my favourite faction. I love Bullet Club. Oh, Suzuki Gun. I don't know, it's hard to choose. Probably Los Ingobernables, then Bullet Club, then Suzuki Gun, but that's nothing against 2 or 3 at all there. But we had new champions, and we got onto the main card, which started with Liger's actual last match. It was a tag match. It was a good match. It featured a bit of story, which the commentators filled me in on, and I'm glad they did. Liger and his partner Sano had a lot of history as rivals, but obviously they're older now. They go back to like 89. They had a big rivalry in 89-90 apparently. But now, it's 20 years, 30 years later, like 20 years later, 30 years later, God. So now bygones are bygones and they can team up. The more interesting side was that Takahashi, the new junior heavyweight champion who beat Will Ospreay, and Ryu Lee, who is Dragon Lee, I think his name is, in Ring of Honor, Ryu Lee is the one who put Takahashi out of action for ages with an injury, because like a legitimate injury, not like a storyline injury. So that was really interesting to see them being teamed up, and they had a bit of a moment at the start where they seemed to sort of clear the air a little bit with each other, but there's still a bit of tension, and I liked that. The match itself was pretty good. Takahashi pinned Liger. And the whole point was Liger going out on his back, having a match with 2 of the younger current guys, and putting them over. This was the correct sort of retirement match. I would have had it 1-on-1, maybe just with Takahashi, or maybe something like that. But beggars can't be choosers, and I'm just not that au fait with the Japanese way of doing things just yet. So, yeah, it was good. I really liked Ryu Lee's show of respect to Liger after the match. I think Takahashi had shown him the respect and given him a handshake and a hug and what have you. And then when it came to Ryu Lee and Liger going face to face, Ryu Lee just dropped, just flopped onto the floor into like a deep bow, like lying on his face in a, like on his knees and on his face in a bow. And Liger crouched down and bowed as well, but you could see how much Lee meant that, like how much respect he tried to put himself through the mat with a bow. The respect was so strong there. It was clearly like, it wasn't okay, win this tag match, show your respect and get out. That wasn't someone telling him to show respect. That was him showing respect, like, big time. Like I say, nearly putting himself through the mat. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that moment as well. The next match was for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. Bullet Club came in, Ishimori and El Phantasmo, who I've heard some great things about, but I'd never actually seen before, taking on Roppongi 3K, which is Yo and Show, with Rocky Romero, and I've seen them before. I've seen them go against the Young Bucks, I believe, at Wrestle Kingdom a couple of years ago or something, and really enjoyed them. Predictions. I don't remember who I picked for the Never Openweights. I don't think it was them though. So I'm 4-5 predictions now over the 2 nights. I ended up going 4-4 on night 1 because I got all of the last 4 matches right. But yeah, over the 2 nights I'm now 4-5, and then the Liger match I got right because obviously you lose your retirement match. So I think 5-5. I can't remember who I predicted on this one, so I'm just not going to score this one. But yeah, they were definitely building up a story over the entirety of nights where it didn't seem like Bullet Club could win a match. Like, the entirety of night 1, Bullet Club lost. They lost in the gauntlet match, and they lost the junior heavyweight tag titles here to Yo and Show. Really good match. Phantasmo is just, wow, yeah. Whoever I've heard talk good stuff about him was just right. He's just so flowing and fluid and makes ridiculous stuff look effortless. Like, he did a spot where he did I don't know what the setup move was, but he slammed someone or suplex someone or whatever. But then he went into the most amazing lion salt I think I've ever seen. He looked like he was actually, I don't know, doing it in liquid or something where you don't sink as fast as you do through air. You're just floating through. And then he just stood up and ran, and I think he suicide dived onto Rocky Romero, and then he went up top and again hit a big splash that it looked like he was in the air for ages. And none of that stuff was something I've never seen before, but how he put it all together was just so fluid and it looked effortless. It really did. There was a good story as well where I can't remember if the referee took a bump or one of the Ishimori distracted him, or I can't remember exactly how it came about, but I think it was Phantasmo went for a low blow on Show, I think it was, and he just straight up punched him low, and then sold the hand, and I'm guessing there was some story coming in where they've beat him with a low blow before, because then Show pulled out a cup, and he was wearing like a protective cup down his trunks, and then they beat them. And I just thought that was a really good. I liked how, like, I'm trying to remember how the finish went down. The bit that stuck with me was the low blow and the cup spot. I thought that was really good. It's reminiscent. I like when people go into a match, especially where they've been stung by something before, with a plan to not get stung by it again. One of my main issues with the AJ Styles Shinsuke Nakamura feud in WWE starting at Mania 34 was, how many times do you want to get low blowed by the same man before you start wearing a cup? You know, like, that was an issue for me. Like, why is this man... This is AJ Styles. Why is he not learning from his mistakes? He's, like, one of the best wrestlers in the world, and he's not learning from his mistakes. Like, it just seemed a bit stupid. So, I like when... Like, the Bret Hart Goldberg thing is one that springs to mind, where he was wearing, like, He was wearing like a metal sheet for when Goldberg speared him, or Mick Foley and Edge, where he was wearing barbed wire around his waist to block the spear again. Mick Foley it was, obviously. Stuff like that, I really appreciate where they've got a plan, because they've done the homework. So yeah, I really liked that story in the match. And Show and Yo win the tag titles. Up next, we had Zack Sabre Jr. against Sanada. Now, the whole story going into this match was how Sanada kept getting the upper hand on Zack Sabre Jr. and pinned him something like 4 times in 2019. How he didn't end up taking the title off him, I'm not sure. But, it was probably our multi-man matches and stuff, wasn't it, for the most part. But I think he did beat him one-on-one. They were showing clips with a roll-up. This match was fun. It was very different than anything else on either of the nights of the card. It was all... Well, for the vast majority, it was technical. It was still fast-paced, but it was very much reversal, trying to roll each other up or trying to put each other in submissions. There wasn't a lot of high spots. I think I'd have to watch this match again to fully appreciate it, but it was a good match by no stretch of the imagination. Was it a bad match? Zack Sabre Jr. pinned Sanada with, I think, the exact same roll-up as Sanada beat Zack Sabre Jr. with. So there's a bit of story there. It was interesting. Sabre said he was going to tap Sanada out. I think part of the story was that he couldn't beat him that way, so he had to roll him. He had to resort to the roll up and then beat him with a taste of his own medicine kind of thing. I think there was like a lot of story interweaving into that one roll up, which is something that I can really appreciate about New Japan. Is some of the stories are really nuanced and have a lot of details to them, and they're pretty much all told in the ring, which I like a good promo building to a match, don't get me wrong, but it's crazy how much they manage to communicate physically without speaking. I mean, obviously the commentary are filling you in on stuff, but I don't remember hearing the commentary tell me that he got the roll up because he couldn't submit him, and because it was the same roll up as Sanada got him with, and all that sort of stuff. The commentators might have said that, but I don't remember them saying that. I didn't learn that because they said that. I got that from the match itself. And I really appreciate that level of storytelling. Okay, next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, there was way more matches on... Oh no, there was one more match on the main card on the second night. So the halfway point now, in terms of matches, the 5th match was Moxley's second match after his brutal Texas Death match against Lance Archer on night 1. He's going to be defending against new tag team champion Juice Robinson. I was surprised that Moxley won. And then as soon as I wrote it down, I was like, I'm not though, because Juice won the tag titles the night before. What I meant is, predictions me would have been very surprised if you'd have told me, hey, I've just come back from 2 days into the future, and Moxley wins that match. I'd have been like, wait, what, really? Like, that was what I meant by surprised, it was one of the more surprising predictions that I got wrong, I would say, so far in the entire 2-day show. I really thought this, going into the show, I really thought this was Juice Robinson's chance to... Oh, I predicted Zack Sabre to win against Sanada, by the way, so 6-5, I think I'm on in predictions. Anyway, 6-6, because I definitely predicted Juice to win this match. Yeah, I really thought this was Juice's chance to get the win over Mox. But once he won the tag titles on night 1, I basically changed my mind, but I wasn't going to do like a predictions revision video, because I guess the whole point of this Wrestle Kingdom was how stuff on night 1 affected stuff on night 2. And that was like the big overall story arc for the entire promotion, was night 1 affecting night 2 massively. And okay, this isn't exactly kayfabe, but Juice winning the tag titles meant he wasn't going to win the US title. So even behind the scenes booking wise, night 1 was massively affecting night 2. But not even mad, because after the match, after Moxley beat Juice in a good match, you know, it was a fun match. Moxley is really showing what he's capable of outside of the WWE restrictions, both in New Japan and AEW. He's a lot more interesting than he was in the last few years of his WWE run. But after the match, Minoru Suzuki came down and went face to face with Jon Moxley and laid down the challenge for the US title. And then they brawled, and then Suzuki choked Moxley out a bit, and then hit him with a pile driver and left him in the ring. And it was amazing, and I need to know when they're doing Suzuki Moxley, because I am watching that. I am 100% watching that. That will be incredible. Also, I really liked Mox when he finally woke up from the assault. He lunged, like the Young Lions were helping him come out, and he lunged at one of them like he'd just come round and thought he was still in the fight and didn't know where he was. He lunged at him, then looked at him and was like, "Oh, you're not Suzuki," and just left him. And I thought that was a really good touch. That was like his fight instinct came back in because someone was still touching him, and the last thing he knew, he was being knocked out by a chokehold and then a pile driver. So he went for the guy touching him and was like, "Oh, sorry," you know. He didn't obviously apologise, he's Moxley, but he sort of looked at him like, "Oh, you're not the guy," you know. And I thought it was a really good touch. But yeah, Suzuki Moxley, where do I sign up? Like, get me on that match. Up next, Kenta and Goto. Kenta defending the Never Openweight Championship against Goto. They'd fought in an 8-man tag on previous night. Goto got the win with Kenta not quite being able to stop him. One thing I will note before I talk about the match, they had an awful lot of moves in this match that began with GT. Because Kenta has the GTS to go to sleep, and then I'm sure Goto, they mentioned at least a GTW and a GTR. There might have been a GTO at one point. And I was like, dude, like, why is everything GT something in this match? But anyway, that's a little bit of a side note that I just noticed while I was watching it. Goto wins. He beats Kenta. I think I predicted Kenta to win, because... So I think that puts me at 6-7. Because I just thought, wow, this is going to be a big year for Kenta. He's killing it in New Japan. And boy, was that bit of the prediction right, if the end of the show is anything to go by, which, you know, I'm getting ahead of myself. But I just didn't see him losing the titles here. I didn't see the same reasoning as Will Ospreay for Kenta. And I should have done. I should have seen that, but I didn't. So fair play to New Japan for surprising me. Goto beats him. Really good match. Hard hitting. I liked the story throughout of Kenta. It seemed like he was kind of underestimating Goto a little bit. Like he kept just sort of throwing him out the ring and going for the count-out win, you know. And then Goto would get back in, and he'd literally, all he'd do is throw him out the other side and then start taunting again. He wasn't really taking him seriously, and then when they got to the crux of the match, he realised he had to, but it was probably too little too late, and Goto got the win. And I really like that. And I'm really enjoying what I've seen of Kenta. My God, Kenta is a different animal than Hideo Itami. Like, I don't know. Like, you know, like I've said about 100 times in this video, I get the Western style, I'm not familiar with the Japanese style. My God, is Kenta just opposite me. Like, he gets the Japanese style. He just didn't seem to mesh with the US style at all. From what I saw, I didn't see every match he had in WWE in 205. I saw quite a bit of what he did in NXT. Oh, the difference, though, wow, he's so good. He's so good in New Japan. He's brilliant. He's brilliant heel in Bullet Club as well. Amazing. Love it. Okay. The next match was Jay White with Gedo against Kota Ibushi, and this match I wrote, genuinely annoyed, great heel work. Like, Gedo and Jay White interfered and cheated so much that I was like, right, come on guys, can we just have a wrestling match? And then I was like, okay, they wanted heat, they've got heat. Like, by the way, can I just say, this match was just like, my God, beef. Like, Jay White has beefed up so much since the last time I watched him, which was probably Wrestle Kingdom 13. He's got like a proper six-pack going on. He's got massive arms now, like compared with what he did. And Ibushi's always just been in ridiculous shape. Ibushi is just like, you know, when you create a wrestler on the wrestling games and you buff up every muscle to max. Ibushi's just like that, but on a Japanese figure, if you like, you know, like, so he's not like some 6'7", 300-pound guy, but he is still just pure muscle. He's just on a smaller guy. I mean, he's not small. I'm not saying he's small. He's not like 5'2" or anything, but he's not your classic American Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar guy, but he's the Japanese equivalent. He's just a grot. He's brilliant. He's just one of my favourites. He did his emotionless thing again. I wish he'd win a match with this emotionless thing though. Like, I get Jay White got Bullet Club's heat back, you know, picked up a win by cheating a lot. They lost fair and square pretty much all of the two nights, and then Gato and Jay White cheated a win because Bullet Club needed a win, and I can appreciate that running story throughout it. I just really want, I hope this Ibushi stuff is going somewhere where he eventually completely loses it and maybe stays in the emotional state, and we get like Crow Sting version of Ibushi. You know, because that's what it reminded me of when he rolled through the shotgun dropkick from Okada. It reminded me of Sting standing up from a vertical suplex, you know, and just no selling it. And I was like, okay, we need this to be his thing, where he eventually becomes the biggest thing in the company because no one can hurt him anymore. Like, that's what I really want to see. He needs to become New Japan's Fiend, is what I'm saying. Just can't hurt him. Like, that'd be amazing. Obviously nothing like the same character, but in terms of approach to matches, you know, like, just not no selling everything, because I understand how that makes your opponent look weak to an extent. But to enough of it where it makes him look indestructible. He needs to just look indestructible. Which he doesn't at the moment, because he lost twice in 2 nights, which is a real shame. But it was great heel work from Jay White and Gato. It was great match. It wasn't Naito versus White, but it was damn close. It probably wasn't as good as Okada Ibushi either. But it was a damn good match. It was a damn good match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Apart from the bit where I genuinely became a mark for a few minutes and got really annoyed at it before I stepped back and was like, no, this is really good work. Which, by the way, mark out for wrestling. Like, guys, like, top advice, mark out for wrestling. Get into it and enjoy the show like it's meant to be enjoyed. It's so much fun that way. Like, you can analyse it afterwards like I'm doing now and taking notes and stuff like that, but watch the wrestling and enjoy the wrestling for what it is. It's the best way. It really is. Totally recommend. Anyway, next match. First thing I wrote was Jericho should have run a Joker gimmick for this feud. Jericho in New Japan, his theme has been, like, mocking gimmicks. So when he came into face Omega, he was the Alpha, and he had the Alpha Club instead of the Bullet Club, and, you know, and he was anti-Omega. And then he faced Okada and he was the Painmaker instead of the Rainmaker. And I can't remember what else he's done off the top of my head. But he's... I think he fought Evil and he started the Am I Evil thing, which Evil was a weird choice for him. But anyway, now he's facing the Ace. I'm sorry, the Joker. What is the only card in a deck of cards better than an Ace? A Joker. Because Jokers are wild, so they can be an ace whenever you need them to be an ace, but if you ever need them not to be an ace, they can also not be. So they're better than an ace. They're an ace plus. So he should have... I know Sting's done the Joker gimmick in TNA years ago. How many New Japan Pro Wrestling fans are familiar with that? Really? He could have done it. It wouldn't have been seen as a big plagiarism deal. I think he should have had a bit more of the Joker about him in the build and in this match. He should have... Like... I'm not talking like cartoony, I'm talking like Heath Ledger style Joker, or maybe even Jack Nicholson Joker, which is a lot more cartoony and you know, what have you, but still terrifying at the same time, still a very serious threat, despite, you know, laughing a lot and being hysterical. Yeah, I think, it struck me in the build-up, I was like, why is Jericho not winning as the Joker here? He always tries to one-up everyone's gimmick in New Japan, that's been his thing. and he just didn't here, and I was a bit disappointed. One of the best spots in this match in Jericho Tanahashi. By the way, did I predict White Ibushi right? No, I voted with my heart. I predicted Ibushi. So I think I'm 6 and 8 now. Jericho and Tanahashi, I predicted wrong as well. 6 and 9. I thought, what's the point in making the stipulation if Tanahashi's not going to win? And then Jericho gets his win back in the AEW title match. Turns out it was just to throw me off. That was the point of the stipulation, was just to throw me off the scent and surprise me. Anyway, in the match, Jericho started doing Tanahashi's air guitar, like his little guitar solo taunt. And then he ends up on the top rope, stood on the top rope, wobbling, doing the air guitar taunt, and then goes for the big splash, the hi-fi low or the hi-fi flow, I can't remember what it's called. Tanahashi's like signature move, and misses. And Tanahashi just rolled out the way, and then was right in the face of one of the ringside cameramen. It was just this massive grin, and you heard the audience laugh because they ever saw him on the big screen doing this big grin. And it was a brilliant spot because Tanahashi was like, "Yeah, mock me, will you? You know, like I see you, I got you." And it was just a great little spot where I'm sorry, that was a Jericho spot. Not taking anything away from Tanahashi, but that was a Western wrestling spot, playing to the camera, and and doing a little bit of a comedic spot. That was I fully believe that was Jericho's idea, that spot, and it was great. Tanahashi is amazing. How he manages to be basically New Japan's John Cena but never get booed is beyond me, because again, we're just so conditioned to hate the Superman over here. So I'm not sure exactly how it's all worked out. Probably because he's just a better wrestler than Cena. Like that might be it. And I don't even hate Cena. But yeah, a really good match. Jericho won, surprised me. He won by submission, and they were really selling the fact that the Wars of Jericho, the line thing, is just a glorified Boston Crab, which is a really fundamental wrestling move that they teach to all the young lions in New Japan, and they were really emphasising that. So I feel like they're going to do something with Tanahashi and having lost to what is a basic wrestling move. Because he's got all the young lions fawning over him, hasn't he? Like, he had young lions, instead of just being at ringside, they were actually leading the crowd and banging the mat like they were his manager, and trying to encourage him and get the crowd involved and clapping. So, I don't know, are they going to do something there? Some interesting character development with Tanahashi? Maybe. Because the commentary team were really emphasising the fact that he basically just lost to a Boston Crab, which, everyone learns in the dojo in Japan. It's a basic move. So, yeah, interesting. Really good match, really fun match. Jericho isn't quite the wrestler he used to be in terms of like an athlete. He's still like a really nice springboard dropkick that did not look like a fat 50-year-old man doing it at all. It looked beautiful. But what he's lost in that is gained in presence, which he already has had a presence, but now he's got this sort of like legend status presence where he bullies people around the ring because he's so established. He's just a completely different wrestler than he was 10 years ago. And then he was a completely different wrestler than he was 10 years before that. His ability to reinvent himself is unparalleled, in my opinion. Okay, final match. Okada Ibushi. Wow, Okada Naito, my bad. What a match. A few moments I picked out. The poison rana off the top rope. How the hell did Okada kick out of that and end up standing again in that match? He landed on his head. Just on his head. He did half a backflip off the top rope and landed on his head. Like, a neck's made differently in Japan or something? Like, what is up with that? That would put someone in WWE out. That'd be a retirement speech the next night in WWE. That was insane. Like, that'd have been match ended and retirement speech the next night. That was just absolutely crazy. Okada was getting booed towards the end of the match. Like, big time. The fans wanted Naito to win. That was the story, was Naito's fairy tale story. Would it have the fairy tale ending, or would it be turned into a tragedy? I think they said during the entrances on commentary. I thought that was a really good way of putting it. And Okada is by no means a heel, but he was playing the heel in this match for a big portion of it. And, not necessarily playing the heel, but playing the spoiler to the fairy tale dream, which sort of makes you the heel by proxy. And it really suited him. Man, heel run Okada. Like, he's got the arrogance. Like, Okada to me is kind of a heel. It is really, really self-confident to the point that it sort of oversteps the boundary into arrogance quite a bit. He dominates a lot of his matches. He's so strongly booked that that's as good a reason as any for a Western wrestling fan to boo him. You know, like, I don't know. And he's got the, he's got the capability to lead the match and and play the heel. It's not, it's probably more difficult in ring to be the heel than the face. You have to get a lot more offense in as a general rule. But yeah, amazing match. It wasn't my favorite of the night, of the 2 nights. It was my favorite of the night. It wasn't my favorite of the weekend. Nah, I'm probably still gonna side with Naito and White and Okada Ibushi over it. But oh man, it's so tough to choose. So tough to choose between those 3 matches that I don't know. You ask me on a different day, or I'll rewatch them and I might change my mind. But this match was just incredible. Just outstanding match. I love Naito. Favourite guy in New Japan. I really want some Naito merch. I posted on Instagram that I want some merch. I want the Bullet Club shirt because I feel like I've earned the Bullet Club shirt now because I'm actually watching a bit of New Japan. It's not just because it's a cool shirt anymore. It's because I actually like Bullet Club. I want the Kenta Club, the Go to Sleep Club shirt because I love Kenta in New Japan. I want the Keep Calm and Say Tranquilo Naito shirt, and I want the Tranquilo Naito cap. And I think there was something else. Oh, there's an Okada dollar towel that I really want just because it's you washing yourself with an Okada dollar. Like, what's not to love about that? But anyway, I got a bit off track. Yeah, Naito is just my favourite in New Japan, which is where I got onto the post about wanting merch because I really want some Naito merch. He's just so charismatic, so fun, and he's also really good in the ring. I'm not saying he's the best, the top A1 guy in the ring. Hey, guess what? Spoiler alert, that's Okada. But in terms of favourites, it's Naito. I love Naito. It's probably Naito, then Ibushi, then Kenta, or Kenta might even be above Ibushi. I don't know. It'd be really tough. I could make like a top 5 video on this and I'd put some actual thought into who my favourites are rather than just trying to throw out a list. But they're probably my top 3 in some order. Naito's number 1. Love him. Absolutely love him. And the match was amazing. The finish was amazing. The moment at the end with Naito and giving his speech and thanking everyone and doing the chant along with the Ingobernables, Los Gobernables thing, Los Ingobernables. I'll say it right one day, first try. Never know, once I've been watching a bit more. It was all great stuff. And then Kenta came in and laid out Naito. And, I really don't know what I'm more excited for, Suzuki Moxley or Kenta Naito. I hope they're on the same show. Because I am watching the hell out of that show. I hope they're on New Year's Dash. I hope by the time you watch this, those matches have happened. New Year's Dash is in like just over an hour for me. Well, for everyone. Yeah, it's a different time for me than everyone else, guys. If they announce those 2 matches, I doubt they will. I feel like New Year's Dash is going to be a bit more throwaway than that. I don't know, I've never watched a New Year's Dash. But the main focus is Liger's retirement ceremony, so I doubt they're going to overshadow that with like huge matches. But, sign me up for whenever the hell they do those matches. Kenta Naito and Moxley Suzuki. And Naito said to Okada, let's do this again. That's probably going to be like at a Dominion, like at a really big show, rather than... Kenta's going to be a placeholder feud for Naito. I don't know how they're going to handle Naito having 2 titles. Is he going to do 2 separate defenses? Is he going to alternate which one he defends? Is he going to elect which one he defends? Is it going to be decided by New Japan Pro Wrestling? Kenta's an intercontinental level guy, so he'll get a shot at that title. Is it just going to be both titles treated as one for a while? I really don't know. I'm curious to see how they do that as well. One thing that did bug me, New Japan, this is a bit of a bugbear, because for me, they could do this better. New Japan is built around factions. Everyone's in a stable. Not everyone. Jericho, Moxley, Ibushi. I think that's about it. Everyone else seems to be in one of the 4 or 5 big stables that they have. And Kenta comes in and attacks Naito after 2 grueling matches. And it took one guy from Los Ingobernables 5 minutes to come down to the ring. Bushi came down eventually and stopped him. And when Gedo and White were taking advantage of Ibushi. Okay, Ibushi's not got an ally, But why did someone not come down and help? Or when it was Naito and White and Gato was getting involved, why did someone not come down and just back Gato off? Like, they've got a whole team backstage and they just don't seem to care about each other. What is the point in them being in a faction if they don't help each other? I'm not talking like overbooking and going interference heavy, but if Gato is interfering against Naito, why does Evil or Sanada or Bushi or anyone not just come down to the ring and square up to him and be like, stop it, you, or I'll lay you out. Like, I'll just knock you out. Like, we're not having that. I know Ibushi didn't have any backup, and maybe that's a big part of his story now is the fact that he is on his own, because Jay White offered him a spot in Bullet Club, didn't he? And he's turned it down. Apparently, the commentators were saying. So I get that, but it bugs me when there's clearly a moment where someone is cheating someone who has like 5 or 6 friends backstage watching, I assume, the match, and they just don't do anything. Just like, oh, it's okay, I don't care about my friend getting bullied in this fight. He's in a fight. You know, like, within kayfabe, this is a fight. These people are trying to hurt each other enough to pin them to the mat or make them submit. They're in a fight. They're in a UFC fight. Like, let's put it in context. Wrestling is supposed to be effectively an MMA fight. You know, in terms of within kayfabe, it's supposed to be a fight. So that's okay. I can handle the watch backstage and watch the friend get beaten up because they're losing a fair and square match. That's part of the spirit of competition. But when Gato is trying to screw Naito out of the match and is like, oh, by the way, when White hit Ibushi with a chair, threw it at his face, and then Gato hit him with the brass knuckles, that just popped into my head and I didn't cover it in the match. Wow, that chair shot. Wow. That was incredible. That was the end of the match as well, wasn't it? They basically got the ref back involved and he hit his sister Abigail, whatever he calls it. And Blade Runner, is that what he calls it? And beat him. And it was just wow. Anyway, but yeah, that's one thing, is the faction thing. What's the point of everyone being in a faction if they don't support each other? And I'm not talking always having loads of interference, because I get they have a much more sports style presentation, but I'm not being funny. But in a UFC fight, if one of the fighters' corner guys got involved, do you not think one of the other guys' corner guys would get involved as well? Like, I know that's never going to happen. Like, that's just too pro wrestling, too sports entertainment for a legit sport like UFC. But just a what if one of them decided to try and cheat, do you not think someone from the other team would go over and, like, kick off with him? Of course they would. I don't know. Bugs me a little bit. Anyway, this is a long video. I don't even know if this is going to be uploaded the same day as New Year's Dash now, because my render and upload times are ridiculous. But fingers crossed, hopefully it is. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. If you stuck it out, then greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Wrestle Kingdom. As detailed or as one word as you like, or anything in between. Like, write me an essay, I thought it was good. I don't care. Like, just let me know what you thought. Recommend some matches, especially the multi-man matches, but I'm open to any New Japan match recommendations, because I really want to learn a little bit about how it functions, and I think having a bit of history to go with. And don't recommend the really obvious stuff. I've watched Omega Okada. I've watched all of the Omega Okadas, I'm pretty sure. And I've watched the last 2 Wrestle Kingdoms, I think. But I might go back and rewatch them anyway, because I've probably forgotten quite a lot. Or was it the last 3? I think I've definitely watched the last 2, and I definitely watched Omega Okada from the one before. Not sure if I watched all of that Wrestle Kingdom, though. I just watched that match. Either way, yeah, recommend me some stuff. You can recommend me Omega Okada, and I'll probably go back and rewatch it, because, you know, why wouldn't you? But, yeah, let me know in the comments what you think I should watch. Subscribe if you're new here, and share with your friends if you think they would enjoy. Don't forget to check out the description for links to my other channels, my social media, my Patreon, all that fun stuff. But for now, all I have left to say is thank you very much for watching. As always, I've been EBEZA, you've been amazing, and I will see you next time.